I just finished a quilt and I said, oh my God, where am I going to go now?
It's kind of crazy. You don't hear of things like Walmart closing. Walmart.
One morning soon, millions of Americans will wake up to find their last grocery store simply gone. According to the New York Times Business Desk, more than 3,800 retail closures are already confirmed for 2024 and 2025. Most are in rural or low-income areas where a single Rite Aid served 3 counties, where one Best Buy was the only nearby source for home essentials. What's disappearing isn't just access, but the last thread of control that working-class Americans still hold. And this isn't just economic decline, but a quiet breakdown of everyday life in towns that were barely surviving to begin with. Because when even the most ordinary pieces of life are quietly erased, what do we have left to hold on to? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And today, we reveal 15 biggest chains in America that will disappear in the months ahead in 2025. Number 1, Walgreens. What happens when the corner store that once saved your life decides you're no longer part of the plan? Walgreens didn't just sell aspirin and shampoo. For millions of Americans, especially the elderly, the sick, and the quietly struggling, it was the heartbeat of the block in the 2010s. There were over 8,000 Walgreens locations across the country. It wasn't just a pharmacy. It was where grandparents filled their blood pressure meds, where a tired mother bought cough syrup at midnight, where everyday life, in its most fragile moments, found just enough support to keep going. But now, the silence is spreading. By the end of 2025, Walgreens plans to shut down at least 150 more U.S. stores. This comes after over 500 corporate job cuts back in 2023, with whispers of another 300 stores quietly being erased from the map. The closures don't strike at random, they cut deepest in the places that can't afford to lose them. Small towns, rural counties, neighborhoods where Walgreens was the only accessible pharmacy for miles and miles. The official reasoning is predictable rising costs, shrinking profits. But that's not the full truth. Walgreens has been shifting quietly, deliberately away from these slower, poorer communities. The company's new strategy favors densely populated, wealthier urban zones, not because they're more loyal, but because they spend more. In other words, the people who need the pharmacy most are no longer seen as profitable enough to matter, and the human fallout, it's devastating. Elderly patients now drive 30 miles or more for insulin. Working moms must skip shifts to find baby formula, laid off employees. Many who gave 10 or 15 years to the company were let go with little warning and nowhere else to turn. One story from Kansas lingers. A woman, clutching her husband's prescription, stood stunned outside a shuttered Walgreens. The sign still hung above the door, but the lights were out. She didn't speak. She didn't move. She just stood there. That image, the confusion, the quiet grief captures what many Americans are now feeling. This isn't just a store closing, it's a signal that we, the ones who once built these communities, may no longer be part of their future. And as we look toward what else is vanishing, number 2 may shatter whatever trust we had left. Number 2, Amazon. Amazon wasn't just a website, it was the silent engine that kept forgotten towns running until it wasn't. From 2024 to early 2025, Amazon shut down over 100 facilities across the United States warehouses, delivery stations, and office hubs alike. States like California, Texas, and New Jersey, once thriving gears in Amazon's sprawling logistics machine, now face darkened buildings and vanished paychecks. Official statements blame post-pandemic efficiency goals, but for the millions impacted, that sounds like a polite way to say you're no longer worth the effort. More than 27,000 direct Amazon employees have already been laid off in just over a year, but that number doesn't begin to measure the full collapse. The real toll stretches deeper: part-time warehouse workers, janitors, independent delivery drivers, subcontractors, entire communities, whose local economy ran on the rhythm of Amazon's hum, now sit eerily still. And that hum, that dependable. Mechanical reassurance is gone. For over a decade, Amazon wasn't just a retailer, it was a bridge. For the elderly woman who couldn't drive anymore. For the family in a rural zip code with no pharmacy nearby. For people living paycheck to paycheck, who counted on 2-day delivery because they couldn't afford to wait. With over 167 million American users every month, Amazon had become the thread quietly holding parts of the country together. But now, that thread is unraveling as Amazon rushes toward a future dominated by artificial intelligence, warehouse robots, and unmanned systems. Human jobs are being erased without ceremony, and the people who depended on it the most, often older, rural, or digitally disconnected, are the first to be cut loose. In places where internet service barely works and few know how to navigate an app, Amazon's exit doesn't feel like a shift. It feels like a betrayal. A retired veteran in Oklahoma now pays 40% more for his heart medication because local shops have no competition. A disabled woman in West Virginia can't get adult diapers delivered anymore, no van. No driver, no options. A father of 2 in New Jersey who once picked up weekly delivery gigs now waits, phone in hand, for shifts that never come. What's fading isn't just a paycheck, it's independence. It's the quiet comfort of knowing that even when no one else shows up, that small brown box might still arrive. Amazon once gave working Americans the illusion of choice, of control, of access. Now, the silence left behind is louder than anyone expected, and if the company that promised everything in 24 hours can disappear without notice, who will stay for the next 24 months? Number 3, Walmart. They used to say, if you can't find it anywhere else, there's always Walmart. But now, even that quiet reassurance is slipping away, and for some, it's already gone. Walmart was never just a store. It was the last thread holding many forgotten American towns together, with over 4,600 stores still open in 2024 and employing nearly 1.6 million people. Walmart remains the largest private employer in the nation. In rural counties, it's more than a retailer, it's the only place left to buy fresh vegetables, refill prescriptions, or grab a pair of shoes without driving an hour. But lately, that familiar blue sign is disappearing. From 2023 to 2024 alone, Walmart shut down at least 24 U.S. stores. From Chicago to Atlanta, Portland to Washington, D.C., these weren't glossy supercenters, they were neighborhood markets designed for working families. When those doors close, entire communities are left with nothing but a locked gate and fading paint. According to studies from Statista and Brookings, thousands of jobs have quietly vanished, many held by older workers, single parents, and people of color. In their place, self-checkout kiosks, automated warehouses, and e-commerce platforms built for a world that leaves some Americans behind. For a 61-year-old cashier who doesn't own a smartphone, the future Walmart promised isn't just unrecognizable, it's unreachable. The consequences go beyond groceries in states like Arkansas, West Virginia, and Mississippi. Walmart isn't just one of many choices, it is the only choice. A Feeding America survey from 2022 found that 1 in 6 households depends on Walmart as their main food source. When the store closes, food deserts form overnight. Suddenly, people must drive 20 miles just to buy milk or turn to convenience stores charging triple the price for chips and soda. But what follows isn't just hunger, it's isolation, it's joblessness. Empty parking lots invite decay, strip malls wither. Some towns report a rise in theft and vandalism after their local Walmart closes, not because people changed, but because options disappeared. Walmart once stood for everyday low prices, but now, for the same towns that built its empire, it offers something else entirely: hollow buildings, lost income, and the echo of what affordable life used to feel like. And if that chill in the air feels familiar, you're not alone. The next name on this list, it's already halfway out the door. Number 4, Best Buy. There was a time when walking into Best Buy felt like stepping into the future. For more than 3 decades, it wasn't just a store, it was a gateway. In towns without an Apple Store or even a Target, Best Buy was the only place where working families could touch, test, and trust the technology they needed to survive in a digital world. Whether you were replacing a broken fridge, setting up your child's first laptop, or asking for help fixing the Wi-Fi, Best Buy had answers and real people to give them. But since 2022, that gateway has been closing, quietly and steadily. As of early 2024, more than 70 stores across the United States have shut their doors. By the first quarter of 2024, the company confirmed plans to eliminate at least 60 more locations by early 2025. The causes: a perfect storm plunging rural sales, surging commercial rents, and relentless price wars from online giants that make physical stores seem obsolete. Behind every store closure is a human story. Over 13,000 employees have already been affected, some laid off, others having their hours slashed to unlivable levels. And it's the small towns, the middle of nowhere counties, that feel it worst. When Best Buy leaves, it doesn't just take away a storefront, it takes away tech support, community knowledge, and access. Suddenly, there's no one left to explain what HDMI cable you need, no one to fix your cracked tablet screen, no one to help the local school's IT lab stay running. Best Buy once served nearly 2 million customers every week, over 90 million transactions a year. And for certain Americans, seniors adjusting hearing aids, students trying to salvage a broken laptop, that service wasn't optional, it was essential. Now, they're being left with little more than confusion and empty shelves. Drive past where Best Buy once stood, and you'll often see the same thing: a faded sign, an empty parking lot, and locked glass doors. But the loss goes deeper than what's visible. It's the sinking feeling that in a world moving faster and faster, some communities are being quietly left offline. And if technology is the new heartbeat of modern life, then the silence left by Best Buy's exit is more than symbolic. It's personal. Number 5, CVS. Your neighborhood CVS used to feel like part of the town's heartbeat, open late, always stocked, always there when you needed it. Now, in neighborhood after neighborhood, the lights are going dark. No grand announcement. No farewell, just a locked door where life once quietly flowed. CVS Health once operated more than 9,000 stores across the United States. But by late 2024, the company confirmed a plan to close nearly 900 of them over a 3-year stretch, averaging one closure every single day. The reason: a shift toward digital operations and online healthcare. But no corporate language can ease the sting for an elderly woman standing outside a closed CVS. Prescription in hand, unsure where to turn next. In over 600 low-income rural towns, CVS, or its counterpart Walgreens, wasn't just nearby. It was the only place left to get essentials milk, ibuprofen, blood pressure pills, diapers, or a thermometer in flu season. When that single store disappears, the impact cuts through every part of everyday life. For aging Americans without steady transportation, the loss isn't minor, it's life-threatening. Missed doses of insulin, delayed antibiotics. Emergency rooms from Ohio to Mississippi have seen a rise in visits tied to missed prescription refills, many involving elderly residents who once relied on CVS as their only health anchor. CVS once employed more than 240,000 Americans. Most of the recent closures have come with quiet layoffs, many targeting pharmacy techs, delivery drivers, and frontline staff. Though official numbers remain private, internal estimates suggest over 5,000 roles may be affected. Some of these workers gave 10, even 20 years to the job, believing the store would always be part of the community fabric. But that fabric is unraveling. CVS wasn't just a chain, it was woven into daily life. Flu shots in autumn, children's vitamins in the spring, or a bottle of aspirin on a hard day. Now, some former locations stand boarded up and bare, like hollow reminders of something dependable that simply chose to vanish, with medical debt now contributing to over 60% of personal bankruptcies in America. The disappearance of nearby pharmacies pushes working families one step closer to crisis. A missed refill today might mean an ambulance ride tomorrow. What once cost $4 at the counter may now cost $400 at the ER. Experts now warn that the rise of pharmacy deserts could leave entire counties without walkable access to basic medicine. It's not a sharp collapse, it's a slow, cruel erosion. And the quiet is the worst part. The shelves don't scream, the signs don't explain. But when the place that once cared for your health leaves without looking back, the question lingers: who will be left when the next storm hits? Number 6, Rite Aid. Back in 2016, Rite Aid held its place as the third largest pharmacy chain in the country, operating more than 2,400 stores nationwide. For countless Americans, especially working-class families, seniors, and disabled individuals, it wasn't just a pharmacy, it was where trust lived, where prescriptions were filled with care, and where you could pick up a toothbrush or flu medicine and chat with someone who knew your name. But by 2023, the foundation had cracked. With more than $3.3 billion in debt and over 1,600 lawsuits tied to opioid prescriptions, Rite Aid filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. What followed was a tidal wave of closures. By early 2024, more than 520 locations were permanently shut, wiping out Rite Aid entirely in places like Sacramento and Philadelphia. More closures are expected well into 2025 as the company dissolves. Its stores are being sold off to larger players like CVS and Amazon Health. But in many low-income and rural communities, there is no replacement. These are now pharmacy deserts regions where the nearest drugstore is 10 to 15 miles away. For the elderly or ill, that's a trip they often cannot make. Thousands of part-time workers, many from older towns, have lost their income and community connection. What's left behind empty storefronts and quiet sidewalks where life used to move. Rite Aid's collapse isn't just a business failure, it's the quiet vanishing of familiarity, routine, and the kind of small, human support we used to take for granted. Number 7, Macys. Macys was once the place where seasons began. Back-to-school outfits, holiday coats, Easter dresses, and those glowing Christmas windows that drew families downtown. It wasn't just shopping, it was part of the rhythm of American life. Now, that rhythm is fading. In 2023, Macys confirmed it would close 150 stores. 50 of those are already scheduled to shut down by the end of 2024. The first quarter saw revenue fall by 7%, and leadership made it clear stores with weak sales and low foot traffic would be eliminated, as Macys leans heavily into e-commerce. The fallout hits hardest in places that don't live online, in smaller towns. Macys was the only place left for a decent suit, a warm coat, or affordable holiday decorations. Amazon might deliver quickly, but it doesn't replace walking through aisles with your child, finding the right dress for a school play, or talking with someone who's worked there since your wedding day. Tens of thousands of workers now face uncertainty, many of them longtime staff, some with decades of service. As Macys disappears, entire malls follow, nearby cafes, barbershops, and kiosks lose foot traffic, and eventually, the town's commercial center begins to hollow out for older Americans. Macys isn't just a store, it's where memories live in textures, in colors, in the scent of cologne on a crisp December day. But now those memories echo inside empty buildings, behind glass doors that say final days, when Macys folds. It's not just fabric being cleared from shelves, it's a part of America quietly closing its doors. Number 8, Bed Bath & Beyond. For decades. Bed Bath & Beyond wasn't just a store, it was part of growing up, moving out, settling down. With more than 1,500 locations across the country, it was where Americans bought their first dorm sheets, picked out baby blankets, or found a thoughtful wedding gift just hours before the ceremony. It became a trusted stop during life's turning points. But in April 2023, that chapter came to an end. The company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, unable to overcome billions in debt. Nearly every store was ordered to close. More than 14,000 workers were laid off. What vanished wasn't only a business but a dependable presence in everyday life. The collapse came slowly. While Amazon and Target raced ahead with faster, cheaper delivery, Bed Bath & Beyond stalled. Its outdated stores, poor e-commerce strategy, and the removal of popular private label products quietly pushed loyal customers away. Mid-sized towns and aging shopping plazas felt the blow the hardest. In many places, it was the last remaining home goods store. Now, buying new towels means traveling long distances or paying online premiums if customers even know how to navigate those digital tools. This chain wasn't just shelves of kitchenware. It was familiar. It was routine. The coupons tucked in drawers. The weekend walks with your mother. A quiet, warm part of life that helped people build their homes, one piece at a time. And now, those shelves are empty. The memories, however, still linger folded like linens in a drawer you haven't opened in years. Number 9, GameStop. GameStop used to be more than a store, it was a weekly escape. Between 2000 and 2015, with over 7,000 locations worldwide, most of them in the US, it was the go-to destination for gamers, families, and nostalgic adults. New game launches felt like mini holidays. Kids lined up in pajamas, parents swapped stories, and the store buzzed with shared excitement. But by 2024, that energy is nearly gone. GameStop has shrunk to around 4,200 locations in 2023 alone. Over 300 stores were shut down, many in suburban or lower-income communities. The first quarter of 2024 reported losses exceeding $50 million. Layoffs followed, and the familiar faces that once offered tips and encouragement across the counter quietly vanished. The fall traces back to an industry in digital transformation. Downloadable games on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam now dominate the market. Physical discs, once GameStop's foundation, are rapidly disappearing. Its e-commerce efforts lag behind competitors like Amazon and Best Buy, and the brief chaotic stock market surge in 2021 couldn't save it long term. The collapse leaves a hole, especially for teens who saw GameStop as one of the last places they could hang out without spending big. Millennial parents lost a space where they could pass on gaming traditions, and thousands of employees, many without college degrees, lost reliable, community-based jobs. Today, former GameStop locations sit dark or repurposed into vape stores, leaving behind a ghost of joy that once brought generations together. Number 10, C Penney. C Penney stood for more than just shopping, it stood for stability. Since its founding in 1902, it became a trusted name across generations, helping working families find school clothes, wedding dresses, kitchen essentials, and beauty products all in one stop. By the early 2010s, the chain had more than 1,100 locations, many offering flexible payment options that made dignity affordable. But by 2020, things had changed. The company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and closed over 240 stores within just 2 years. As of 2024, only around 660 stores remain. Most are found in aging malls with quiet walkways and dimmed energy. Aisles are emptier, departments roped off, in many places. C Penney is no longer part of the town's vocabulary, it's something people remember, not rely on. This collapse didn't come overnight. Years of poor leadership, failure to embrace e-commerce, and competition from Amazon, Walmart, and Target slowly chipped away at its strength. Then the pandemic struck, accelerating a decline that had already begun. For smaller towns and older Americans, the impact runs deep. C Penney wasn't just convenient, it was essential. It meant avoiding long trips, confusing apps, and overpriced options. More than 100,000 jobs vanished between 2010 and 2024, many held by hourly workers without digital skills or other opportunities. Now, the boarded entrances and faded signs say, "More than closed." They mark the slow erasure of places that once grounded daily life, where reliability was a given and community still had a place to gather. Number 11, Sears. In its heyday, Sears wasn't just a store, it was stitched into the soul of American life. In the 1970s, it operated over 4,000 locations and mailed catalogs into nearly every home. It was where families bought their first washing machine, their first refrigerator, even a house shipped in pieces and built by hand, for millions. Sears wasn't just a job, it was the beginning of a middle-class life. By 2024, that legacy is barely standing. According to USA Today and Business Insider, only 11 Sears stores remain open across the country. 11. The number feels more like a typo than a reality. After its bankruptcy filing in 2018, over 700 stores were shuttered within 3 years. Those that survived now sit inside dying malls, untouched by renovation, echoing with silence. The collapse wasn't inevitable, it was led. Years of mismanagement under CEO Eddie Lampert saw Sears bleed from within. Strategic freezes, underinvestment, and a refusal to adapt to online retail all played a part. While Amazon and Walmart innovated, Sears froze and vanished from public relevance. In the Midwest and South, the brand was a lifeline. Repairs, affordable payment plans, dependable service, these were more than offerings, they were trust. Now, there's nothing to replace them. Technicians are jobless. Working families without credit are left stranded. Malls anchored by Sears now sit abandoned. Haunting reminders of what once was. No farewell tours, no national mourning, just faded letters above shuttered doors, and the quiet collapse of another American institution that helped build the world we knew. Number 12, Tuesday Morning. Tuesday Morning never chased attention, but it quietly earned loyalty. Founded in 1974, it became a gentle presence in the lives of middle-class and elderly Americans selling home decor, linens, gifts, and toys at discounts of 50 to 80% at its peak. It ran more than 700 stores across 39 states, mostly nestled in modest suburban plazas and smaller town strip malls. For many, it was part of seasonal life, a Thanksgiving table runner, a scented Christmas candle, a discounted picture frame for a newborn's photo. The joy wasn't just in saving, it was in the surprise of finding something special, affordable, and real. But by May of 2023, it all came to a close. Tuesday Morning filed for bankruptcy, its second in 3 years, and announced the closure of every remaining store. Over 200 final locations shut down within months. Thousands of part-time workers, many of them older women, were quietly dismissed. No farewell sale, no fanfare. Online retailers like Amazon and Wayfair outpaced it during the digital shift, with no e-commerce plan and heavy cuts to store experience. Tuesday Morning became invisible during lockdowns. Customers stopped coming, not out of protest, but out of quiet disappointment. The loss rippled beyond the register. Retirees, widows, and single women lost a trusted spot. Budget-conscious families lost access to affordable home goods, and smaller shopping centers lost one of their last remaining anchors. There was no tribute, no national farewell, just dust on the door handles, and a quiet absence that didn't feel real until it was permanent. We're not just witnessing economic shifts, we're living through the quiet erasure of places that once held our routines, our milestones, our comfort, for millions of older, working-class Americans. These stores weren't just retail, they were a way of life. They were the smell of new school shoes at C Penney, the warmth of a Tuesday morning candle bought with spare change, the sound of a familiar cashier asking how your mother's doing, a $5 meal that fed your family when nothing else could, a pharmacy light that stayed on when the world felt dark. These weren't luxuries. They were survival, stitched into everyday life. They were the spaces that caught us when we fell, the corners of America where people still called you by name. So if you ever waited in line at Walgreens at midnight with a fevered child, or walked into Bed Bath & Beyond for towels before your first apartment, or stood in the glow of a Macys window during Christmas, tell that story. Say it out loud. Share it with someone younger, because when the doors close and the shelves go bare, all that's left is memory, and memory when shared becomes light.